Anyways, dear listener, you are listening to Southern Summers and Northern Winters, and we're at it again. Yeah. What you been up to, Mark, this past week?
Not too much. Just monitoring some Black Friday sales and spending some money as one does when things are cheap. And the problem is I find that because I've bought a lot of software or programs at this time of year, I've got a lot of renewals flying my way all the time.
I hear you there. I hear you there.
Of Black Friday. And the problem is if you don't remember to, and you don't cancel them, not cancel them, but if you don't auto-renew, then they roll them over and they won't give you a better price, which I found the other day. I'd forgotten to not auto-renew, so I got charged about 40% dearer than what I could have got it for Black Friday, and the company weren't forthcoming in refunding that, so I could do it at the price that I got it as last year. So I was a little bit annoyed about that, to be honest.
It's a funny mechanism, isn't it? Because you would think they would honor loyalty.
You would,
but they don't.
And actually, this company, I've been using their video editing software since 2016. So I'm talking 9 years I've been using their product, and it was only last year that I actually bought this add-on to give you, like better sounds and filters and, and all that sort of jazz like that. So actually it really annoys me that companies just automatically roll things over without asking you, that auto-renew. They never ask you. It's obviously in the terms and conditions somewhere, and you actually, physically need to go in and turn the auto-renew off on all this sort of stuff so it doesn't happen. So that's why I try and buy a lot of lifetime stuff if I can, so then I don't have to actually
worry about that every year.
AppSumo is a really good company for that I've bought a ton of lifetime things on. Some are good, some are not so good at times, but you get 60 days to return them if you want the software a lot of the time and get your money back, so which is a good one. Some of it's really good. Like the other day I think I paid $100 and was pretty dear. I think it was like $150 Australian for Audio Hero, it's called, and it's got like 3 million or 300,000 background songs and tracks and stuff that you can use in YouTube. So and it's lifetime as well, which is good because it becomes a bit of a hassle sometimes finding finding music or background sounds.
Yeah, exactly. Royalty-free music. Yeah, it's a thing,
Free and then you get a strike off YouTube. Not that it really matters, but then you've got to go through the process of, going back to where you found it and finding the license for it and submitting it to YouTube and all this sort of garb like that sometimes, especially if you monetize, because otherwise then they'll just take the money or they'll say, because you've used this, the money now goes to the person who produced the song if you don't have a license for it, which I guess is fair enough. But yeah, so it becomes a bit of a pill a lot of time going back to where I got it from, which I have a license for all of it, but then having to dig up the license and then appeal to YouTube, and put in the details and wait for them to get back to you and, and clear it all up and all that sort of garb. So, so I thought I'll just buy this program. That's got all this free stuff on it. Really good stuff as well, I found. So I was quite happy with that. So that was lifetime. So it was $150 and, so I can use that for as long as I like, I guess. So,
yeah, great. I'm surprised it even happens because you would think that all the music on this platform that you have bought access to, that Google and YouTube would know all the music there.
Yeah.
And just, never even give you a notice. But
that's amazing, though.
It's sometimes surprising how advanced we are and how many worries we have in terms of supervision and everything, and then stuff like that you can't even that doesn't even work. It's just
especially with YouTube, it's really hard if you're out and you want to film something, like 90% of the time there's background music playing, if you're in
Yeah.
a bar or you're in a restaurant or somewhere like that. And so that makes it really, really actually hard to film, content outside of, your home or out or inside. I mean, anywhere,
Yeah.
because there's always something in the background. I mean, I'm sure there must be a program out there that can, separate that track and remove it. Probably AI probably can. I really probably need to look into that so you can
Yeah.
strip the
Yeah.
strip the music that's playing in the background would be nice, because YouTube jump on that straight away. It's like, okay, nope.
Yeah. Yeah, and as a content creator, I can sort of sympathize with it, but again, something playing for 10 seconds in the background, come on. I mean,
well, I mean,
not,
look, as smart as we are with AI, surely YouTube can develop a tool or something that looks at it and goes, okay, this person's really not using this song,
exactly.
per se,
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
part of their clip. It just happens to be, playing in the background in a restaurant
Yeah.
or a pub that they're in, and they really can't do anything, about that playing, which you can't. I mean, I can't just go up to a bar and say, hey, can you turn that off for 10 minutes while
No, exactly.
while I record this video over here, because I don't want to get a strike on YouTube and I don't want to, I don't want to be demonetized on this clip. Yeah. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
It becomes a bit of a pill at times, but
And speaking of that, in filming in the public space, have you ever been approached by people, saying, I don't want to be in your video or something, because sometimes you see blurred out faces, in the background of YouTube videos.
Well, I generally don't do that. I mean, maybe you should, but I've never blurted out, and I've actually never had anyone stop. But I must say, I have had someone when I was flying a drone who wasn't happy about it, even though I was like, 30 or 40 meters in the air and I was in a public area, flying, and he was like, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be filming. I'm like, mate, I'm filming out there. It was going over water. Like, we were sort of in an area by the water where there was a boat ramp where they were launching, small fishing boats. And, this guy was like, I'm like, mate, I'm flying like way out here to try and, film the area. I'm not filming you. Like,
exactly.
I said, I'm not breaking any laws in Australia, CASA, which is the civil aviation, whatever it is in Australia. It's all was all within, within what was allowed. So I basically said, well, bad luck. If you don't like it, just go away.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but
because
particularly,
I'm not filming you.
Particularly with drones. I mean, I'm glad actually I didn't buy one years back. I was really considering it, but here in Germany it's just forbidden. You literally can't fly it anywhere.
I must say I'm pretty cautious about flying them. A lot of the times I do a lot of stuff. I get up really early, 6 o'clock in the morning or somewhere, if I'm someplace where there's no one around. And the drone I've got that I use at the moment is this really small one. It's called a hover, and it fits. It would be no bigger than, than this little, just to give you an indication, this is my hand and this is sort of the wallet bit. It would be no bigger than this thing. So it folds in half. And it's got some pre-settings on it where it'll just follow you, or it'll do a loop around you or something like that. And it doesn't go any further than, say, 10 meters away from you, like, at any time. So it's quite easy just to chuck it up and film some footage of it following you, or, flying along beside you, without really sort of interrupting too many people by it. So I use that one a lot more now than the other ones, and because it fits in my pocket and I can just take it out. Whereas the DJI ones I've got to take in a bag, then I've got to unpack them, I've got to hook up the remote controls, So it's like a real, you've got to be planned with that one. Whereas with this one, I can just put it in my bag, and if the opportunity comes, I can just whip it out, and it can be in the air within 30 seconds or something like that. So which makes it a lot easier. And
it has become so easy. It really has become easy, and it's probably why governments and rules and legislation is just become a little bit strict, because you can, if you have sinister intent,
it's like everything, isn't it? There's an element that uses everything for what it's not supposed to be used for, and that then destroys it for everyone who wants to use it just for like me. I occasionally want to get shots of following us, of me walking from behind or from beside,
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
from in front, or things like that. This for cinematic purposes in
Yeah.
videos. This
Yeah.
makes it, instead of just filming forward or filming yourself, at like a foot in front of you as far as you can hold the camera away. So it just adds a little bit to the clips in the
Speaking
end.
of
So
technology, did you see that GoPro, they're really struggling. I had a couple of GoPros, historically,
yeah,
and I really enjoyed because they were robust and they were
yep.
good. For some reason, the oldest one, it was a GoPro 3. It stopped working. The software, I just couldn't update the software anymore, and I couldn't connect to it. So it's really literally bricked. It's just doing nothing, and so it's sort of shame that but that they're struggling. But they obviously didn't innovate fast enough.
No, and they innovated. Actually, it was funny you say that, because I actually watched a YouTube clip on GoPro the other day, on the history of it and what was going on. And I actually own a few GoPro products. Like, I've got a GoPro Sessions, which was their first mini camera. It was about this big, had no screen on the back of it, so you couldn't actually see what you were doing. It was just a little square box. I've got one of them. I've got a GoPro. I've got a Hero 5. I've got a Hero 10. And I was even one of the few people that owned the GoPro drone that pretty much sent the company nearly broke in the first place. Because
you had one of those.
Yes, I do have one of them. Have the whole kit. I haven't flown it in about 4 or 5 years. I've got it all together. One day it might be a collector's item. I actually really liked it. Like, it was the first drone I ever had. It was sort of big and bulky and sounded like a drone. It sounded like a plane, like
a proper flying machine.
It had a lot of issues. A lot of people that would just fly off on them, things like that. The software was buggy. It had no avoidance system either. So, if a lot of DJI ones, if you fly it straight towards a tree, it'll stop. The DJI software makes it stop, so you can't hit anything. But this GoPro drone didn't. So, and it was a really good idea. It was like a drone. It was like a system, they called it. So it was interchangeable. You got the drone, but it came with like one of the very first gimbal handles as well, that kept the GoPro straight. And part of that gimbal handle actually plugged into the front of the drone to keep the camera straight while the drone was flying as well. So it was like a really good idea. It was a whole system. But yeah, it nearly sent GoPro broke in the end, and from there on in, it was pretty much downhill for them. I think their stock now trades at under $1 a share, and once upon a time it was around $40 a share. They were valued at $40 billion or something at one stage, and now their share value's under $1 billion or something like that. So they're basically a penny stock these days.
Yes.
I don't know. DJI seems to rule the world.
Have you had issues with the drone where it just stops midair and drops?
I haven't, because I haven't really flown it in about 5 years. I sort of got, once it was starting to get trouble with it, and it was really big and bulky. It came in a whole backpack. Like, you had to basically have this backpack that was the size of half a suitcase, like, to carry it around. So I sort of got out of that pretty quick and bought a DJI, bought a Mavic Pro, which was a lot smaller and had a lot more features on it, after about 6 or 8 months of having this GoPro thing. But like I said, I really enjoyed flying it, and I really like to take it out one day, but I'm too scared I'd put it up and crash it now, because there'd be no software updates for it in the last 5 years or things like that. No,
probably not. So
it sits in my cupboard as a full kit, but I really liked the gimbal. The gimbal was really good with it. It came on a long stick handle, and it was, and I could still use the gimbal, but you could only use it on a GoPro 5 and 6 and 7, which I've still got the camera, the 5 in the drone kit with it. So so I've got an entire kit there. I keep thinking one day it might be worth something, like to a collector or something, but I don't really know. But I very rarely throw away anything electronic. I've got, like I said, record players and CD players and tape decks and shit like that stacked up everywhere in my shed, like.
It's funny what becomes valuable over the years, because you would think all the junk you just get rid of, from time to time. Sometimes you can in this day and age. I wish I'd kept my old record turntable.
Yeah.
Couple of other things that why did I sell that? Because I'm not even sure I got money for it back then. It was just
No.
here, take this, and today
Yeah.
it would be worth something.
Be
It's
worth
just
something. I
yeah.
know. That's why you should always just keep everything, shouldn't you? And not sell it. But when you're younger, I remember selling a heap of records, a heap of LPs when I was younger, when CDs
Yeah, me
first
too.
came
Yeah.
out. Sold them for next to nothing back then, $5 or $3, because everyone was buying CDs, and it'd be like, no one's ever gonna, look at vinyl again. It's gone.
Yeah.
But, I mean, luckily, I still had a couple of hundred that I did keep. But I reckon I sold a good 50 records for next to nothing at one stage.
Yeah, exactly.
when CDs came out.
I saw you on was it Facebook? A Facebook post at some point. You were spinning a picture version of Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Yes.
And it's one of those albums that I do not own at the moment. I'm looking for it, used, because next year there's going to be a new movie about Michael Jackson, and I reckon that an album like a vintage copy of Thriller will probably go through the roof.
Yep.
And
most definitely.
Yeah, so I've been looking for it, but yeah.
I think I've got a vintage copy of Bad too, from the that I would have bought in the 80s or 90s when it came out as well.
Keep those, man. Keep those.
Michael Jackson. I've got a heap of Michael Jackson stuff. I've got the Jacksons Live on vinyl as well. I've got a few Michael Jackson and Jackson stuff.
Yeah.
I was a big fan. Speaking of Michael Jackson, there's a musical. There's a musical on in Melbourne called the Michael Jackson Show, or the Michael Jackson Musical, or something. I was really going to go and have a look, except it was $200 a ticket, and I was like, I'm not quite that much of a fan.
Yeah, we were looking into. That's one of the things when traveling that we like to do when it's affordable. We like to go and do something cultural, see a musical or theater play or a concert, whatever. But, in this day and age, on top of your travel costs and accommodation and whatever, paying, in your case, four persons times 200, $800 on top.
Yeah, so
that's just
€450, like, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. So that's just not
outrageous.
That's just not possible. We went to see Phantom of the Opera in Vienna last year. That was nice. That was great. It was affordable, but it's sad. It's sad that you cannot do something like that spontaneously anymore. Previously we just go to the box office, on the side of the theater and say, "Do you have anything for tonight?" Yeah, we have this. Good. We'll take 4 tickets or 3 tickets. It's just not how you do it anymore, sadly.
Well, and the thing is, I thought it might have been cheap on the day. So when I was looking up, because we're going to Melbourne next weekend for a couple of nights, just me and Rebecca, and so I was looking for things to do, and I thought, I'll just have a look. So when I was looking at this last week, I put in the same day that I was looking at, just to see if they were any cheaper 2 hours before the show. But still, there was no discount 2 hours before the show.
That's what I'm saying. It's. And previously, you could
wait until like an hour beforehand and roll up. It might be cheaper, but apparently that's not how it works anymore.
No, apparently not. This dynamic pricing is really. You should think that it would speak to your advance just shortly before the doors open, that you could just go off. Same thing with airfare. It's when I met Alex, my wife, it was in 2003, so it would have been like 2004 and 2005. We would sort of see each other when we could, and sometimes we would talk, like a Thursday night, say, want me to come for the weekend? And we would immediately, either one of us would book a flight to either Copenhagen or Munich, so we could be together. That was possible back then, and it was affordable. You don't do that anymore. Sadly, you just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, because you're right. 20 years ago, people used to talk about, getting on standby lists and things like this for cheap flights, but I don't think that actually doesn't exist anymore, surely, doesn't it? Like, you go to the airport and try and get a last-minute ticket. Well, that's not possible anymore, surely. Like, tickets are, if it's not full, it's not full, and then they just take off. They don't care, do they? Like, they just go, well, it's all built into the price, and, and we fly with who we've got on board, and that's it.
It reminds me of very early days, like in around 25, 25, 28 years ago, I was working at customer service at DHL Express, the courier, the courier service back before when it was part of Deutsche Post. It was actually they had a partnership with Lufthansa. So any employee of DHL Express courier service, we could actually get discount on Lufthansa, and sometimes we could get standby tickets, and so I did that a couple of times back then. And the ticket office at Copenhagen, you have to go to the ticket office in Copenhagen Airport, and you could do it only like a day before at the earliest. Yeah. So we'd go out a day before and say, do you have anything for Rome tomorrow? And then they would say yes or no, and they would be very unfriendly, because they wouldn't earn any commission.
Yeah.
So, but
precisely.
Yeah. So that was. But I did manage to get a couple of cheap tickets a couple of times, but it's not possible anymore. Good. Sadly, yeah.
Nothing's cheap is possible anymore, is it? I don't think.
No, so I've sort of. I had a chat with a friend the other day, saying, when do we ever get a pleasant surprise this day and age? It seems like everything is just. Bad news in general. Well, when do we ever, as human beings, get a pleasant surprise? And it's just, I don't know.
I really don't know. You're dead right there. Like, and even if you do get something, like a break from the government, they give in one hand and then they take in the other hand. So, they might say, we're giving an income tax cut, but yet the tax will go up on something else to make up for that income tax,
Exactly.
Cut. It's just, it's put in one and take out of the other, isn't it? Literally all the time.
I got to think of it because I saw a video about the, after the Second World War, the Marshall aid, the Marshall help, from the Americans. It was a significant financial boost to Europe after the war.
Yeah.
And probably there's been some attachments to all that, some conditions, but still, it seemed like a genuine boost financially to rebuild Europe, and the populations were thriving, and innovation, technology, and all of that. We haven't had that for generations now. We haven't had such a period, such an era. No, it's just everything is just downhill at the moment.
It's hard to fathom. It is. It's hard to fathom. Like the governments, they reckon they got no money and they got this, but then they spend money on this crazy stuff. So like the other day where I was watching the news in Australia. So Australia has this policy called Operation Sovereign Borders, which has been running for 8 or 10 years. It's to stop people from, getting in the country via sailing boats, from Indonesia and Sri Lanka and illegally landing, on Australian soil. So, but what came out the other day is that the Australian government have been going up and down the Western Australian coast buying fishing boats anywhere from the price of $150,000 to $250,000 to give to these people that are trying to sail here, and give them these boats to sail back to where they come from, so they're safe.
Okay.
Apparently they've bought like 40 or 50 of these boats at $250,000 a boat. So they've spent, tens of millions of dollars to give people who are trying to get into the country illegally fishing boats so that they will go back so they can get back safely to where they've come from. I mean, bloody hell, I mean, really?
It's one of those.
You're rewarding people who come here illegally with a fishing boat of some description in hope that will make them go back to their own country so they can earn a living on a fishing boat you've given them, so they don't want to come to Australia. Does that make sense?
What did they use as an argument for doing that? What was their rationale?
Oh, well, I don't think wasn't meant to come out because they have this secrecy policy about this border policy where they don't talk about the
Oh,
amount of people arriving or the amount of boats that are coming. Like that's all blacked out. So there's no talk about it. And apparently someone leaked it to the media who the government had gone to try and buy these fishing boats off them to give away. Like, and it's and still the government are like, oh, we can't tell you how much it's costing and, and all this sort of stuff like this, but it's cheaper than if they land in Australia and we have to process them, in asylum, or whatever it is for a certain amount of time, they reckon. So I don't know, but it just sounds like a crazy, crazy situation that's costing, millions and millions of dollars when, you can't fix the holes in the road and there's not enough hospitals and there's not enough schools, and there's not enough this and there's not enough that, but yet, you can afford to. Yeah, I don't know. It is. Yeah. It is what it is. All governments are what they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It just sounds crazy.
It really does.
Doesn't it?
So, tomorrow or this coming weekend, we're decorating the house for Christmas. When are you doing that in Australia?
I think most people do it the 1st of December. I'm not quite sure whether we didn't put a tree up last year.
Are you going to?
I don't really know whether we are this year either, to be honest, because we're not going to be here Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. We're going, my wife's sister lives at Phillip Island, so we're going down there for a couple of days. So we may or we may not. I don't really know.
Phillip Island, that's actually, it's south of Melbourne, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Down the bottom of the Mornington Peninsula there.
There are penguins there, aren't there?
Yes, it's famous for fairy penguins.
Yeah. So that's actually one of the places we went with Alex's family. They rented a summer cabin when we were there, and we went there for a weekend. It was really, really nice. It's a nice area.
Yeah, it's a nice place. It's pretty popular in the summertime. Lots of people go down that way. But yeah, it's popular for its fairy penguins, and there's also a F1 MotoGP race held there every year, which is the motorcycle version of Formula One. So there's a track there for that, and there's a few other things, a lot of wildlife stuff around there. There's koala sanctuary and things like that people and a lot of good surf beaches where people go surfing, but also a lot of dangerous surf where people tend to drown a few times a year down there as well.
Really?
Mainly foreigners.
Okay.
Mainly foreigners who don't really know how to swim in the ocean a lot, I think. So, but
what about sharks?
But it's a very nice spot. Very nice spot. Nah, mainly just drowning.
They're just drowning. No shark attacks. No.
Well, I saw those sharks there. There's whales there in winter too. Little whales go past there. I was watching a video the other day. There was actually orcas down there this year. So, so I would really like to see an orca. That would be quite cool, I think.
But, it would.
So far I've never seen one.
I just recently learned that they are actually not as dangerous as you think. I mean, you can actually swim.
Not to people, are they?
Yeah, exactly. You can actually swim with orcas. I've seen people do this in Norway, and it's just.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a reported death.
No, exactly.
Person by an orca. So yeah,
it's funny because I've read many stories about people swimming near whales in general, and I'm a little. So to me, it would be very intimidating. Such a huge animal.
Yes, definitely.
It would. I would think it would just mistake me for a big squid or something. I don't know, but they seem to be clever enough to not attack humans. Or eat humans, or swallow humans.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that popular swimming with whale sharks and things like that that go on in Australia. I mean, they're not quite as big as a whale, but they're still they still look to be a fair size. They do that a lot in Western Australia, I think, as well up the coast there. But yeah, so I'm not sure it'd be my cup of tea either. I've been in the water with dolphins and seals before, but never. But they're a little bit smaller, so that's
exactly.
So that's a whole different kettle of fish than a whale, isn't it?
I don't think I would be comfortable with anything much bigger than myself. I mean, it's just I know a dolphin can be quite big, but still, dolphins are known to be good-hearted and not hostile. So,
yes, and that's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You want hearted animals. So what was I going to say? So today in Australia, the two major airlines, Qantas and Jetstar, both banned power banks on board. I don't know. Is this happening in is this
We
happening in
touched
Europe? I
base.
know it's
Yeah,
happening in
we touched base on
yeah.
that.
I know it's happening in certain countries.
Previously. The thing is, is it power banks in general or just cheap Chinese power banks? But all
No,
power banks are manufactured in China.
all power banks.
All power
All
banks.
power banks. You need to use the charging plugs on board if you want to charge. So you can't actually physically use a power bank on a plane in Australia anymore. But I know it's not just Australia. Singapore Airlines, when we flew with them back in August, they were the same. You couldn't use a power bank with them. And then someone I know online was saying they flew back from Seoul yesterday with Scoot, which is a budget airline, and they wouldn't let you use power banks either. So I think it's going to be something that all airlines, I assume, will adapt.
Yeah.
So I guess everyone just needs to be fully charged before they get on board, unless you've got a modern plane that has the USB plugs. But not all planes are modern, as we know, and a lot of them, fair few of them, I'm sure, still wouldn't have charging ports on them, would they?
So are you allowed to obviously not in your carry-on, but are you allowed to put it in your check-in luggage?
No, you've got to take it in your carry-on.
So what
but
about
you're not allowed to charge with it though?
Yeah, but for instance, if you're going on a longer journey and you need your power banks for filming on the road or whatever at your destination.
Yeah.
Would you need to buy new power banks on arrival, or can you take your stuff with you in your check-in luggage?
No, you can take them with you. It's only in China where you've got to have a certain specification on the back of your power bank, like this one. This is the one I bought in China to meet the Chinese specification. So yeah, China's the only country where you've got to have a certain standard, and even then, even once you meet the standard, you can take it on board in China, but it's got to have this certain voltage and quality certification on the back of it that meets Chinese standards. And the thing I found funny about it was that a lot of the companies in China that make power banks, like Anker, they didn't make ones that complied with the Chinese certification. So the only ones, some of the ones I found, like Xiaomi, which is MI brand, they made a lot of them. But yeah, so I had Willow buy this one online, two of these ones online for us in China. So we actually had some that meet the certification when we went to China. So, it was a bit of a runaround because I knew I'd get some. I needed power banks for the 4 days before I got to China, so I bought some really cheap ones online and used them while we were in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, expecting them to be confiscated when we got to China, and they were confiscated. But then, like I said, I had my daughter buy these in China and have them in China waiting for us. So they met because otherwise, once I flew out of China to go to the Philippines, they were going to get confiscated again because they still didn't meet the. So it was going to be a whole heap of fooey, but in the end, it was what it was. I picked up a couple of €10 power banks online and just used them for the 4 days, and was happy to hand them over to Chinese authorities in Shanghai and say, "Here you go, take them away."
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, with modern technology, you would think that we would be past this thing with constant recharge of your devices, because battery life is getting better, but I guess it's a balance, because the developers and manufacturers, they don't want it to be too good too soon. They want to sell products, don't they?
Well, the issue is we use our phone like it's a computer.
Yeah, we do.
It's 1/8 of the size of a computer, isn't it? So you've got to be able to. You've got to expect the battery life. Like, I know my phone, even to buy a new phone, like, I'm a heavy user of my phone, and like, I would be lucky to get a phone to last, a day. No way known can I get my phone to last a day. Like, after about 6 hours, it's probably flat. Like, and I've tried lots of different phones in the last few years to try and find one with good battery. I've had a Google Pixel. It was one of the worst phones I had for a battery when I first bought it.
Yeah,
like, I even messaged them and complained about it, and things like that. And So yeah, but that's what I think. I think, people go, yeah, my battery's no good, but like you've got a laptop, and a laptop is that size, and a PC's plugged into power, full stop. But we're expecting something that's this size to have the power to last all day. I think, which which is a pain in the ass, because I'd love my phone to last, have endless battery supply. But I think things are getting smarter. You can get them battery packs that sit on the back of your phone these days, and all sorts of things like that, which I guess makes it easier. But still, it'd be nice. But, then they'd have to make the phone bigger probably, and we'd all be complaining then that it's heavy and it's lumpy and and it's
that's the thing.
It's an situation.
I don't really doubt that it would be an issue if they really wanted to. The problem is the manufacturers, they want us to buy new products all the time. So if they invented, and I'm sure it's already invented, like a dry battery that would never need recharge, it's just not commercially viable, because you buy it only once and then you never buy it again.
Never again. Surely they could build a little nuclear reactor in the back of your phone.
Absolutely. You can do that. I'm 100% sure it's possible, but it's just not. Why would they? Why would they?
You're right. Well, because we're a throwaway society, aren't we? Like, I probably buy a new phone, I don't know, every 2 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Or a bit more. Mainly for me, because the cameras get better all the time, so I'm always, looking for a better camera, and things like that. So after about, 2 years, it's time to get a new one. And I generally buy the superseded model, the one before the new one that comes out. So it's a little bit cheaper. So then it's already, a couple of years old in technology. So, but phones are so dear sometimes, aren't they? Like it's a crazy amount of money for a good new phone, like an iPhone or a top of the line Google or a top of the line Samsung. In Australia they're $2,000 or something like that. So over €1,000, like a lot of money, isn't it?
It is, and I'm like you. I don't need the newest model every year. So what I do is that usually I go and find like a model that's 2 or 3 years old, and you can get a good deal on those.
Definitely.
Usually, even refurbed. Yeah. I mean, there's an online site here in Germany called Refurbed, and they sell refurbed equipment. And we've used this a couple of times. It's actually good, and there's a guarantee. There's a 1 year warranty on stuff that you buy there, and it's all refurbished and comes in good condition. So I mean, I've
got a few things in Australia. There's a site called Kogan, which is like a electronic site, and they sell a lot of refurb stuff. Actually, 2 of the drones I own from DJI I bought refurbed by DJI that was sold on this site. I've got a Google Pixel tablet that I bought refurbed as well. So I don't mind buying the refurb stuff.
No, me neither. It's absolutely fine. And if you can live with last year's or even 2-year-old models, the thing is with a phone. I mean, yes, as you say, the camera. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why people like you and I, Mark, would go and upgrade. But apart from that, a phone is a phone. I mean, you use your socials. You probably call people. If you're old school like we are, you actually still call people, and that's it. So why would you need a faster processor for just that? I mean, it's just.
No, you don't, do you? It's not as if you're creating magic on it or something like that, is it? It just sits in your pocket and you drop it and the screen cracks and you pick it up and put it back in your pocket.
Exactly.
Recharge it. And then throw it away. So but so I don't know. But.
So you're not going. Well, Phillip Island. We probably we can talk about that because it's one of. But we can go. We can do that when we're a bit near because we're already at an hour, Mark. So that's how things go. But one of the next episodes we should talk about what to see in Victoria and Southern Australia because it's going to be the summer season is coming, and it is coming. It's going to be. And you're going. Was it in January? You're going to China again?
Going to Malaysia. I'm going to Malaysia and Bali, and my wife's going to Malaysia and China. So,
And China, okay.
Yeah, and still, I think I'm going to go to. I think I'm going to go to Japan in May and June. Like, I think
Wow,
it's
yeah,
on the.
we need to talk
It's
about
on,
that as well, because
it's on the cards. I'm
yeah,
just
that's
waiting till January just to make sure I've got enough money to
yeah,
to fund this before I actually book it.
yeah,
Like I said, the accommodation doesn't look too bad. Trains are pretty dear though.
yeah,
That's where I've had a look. That's sort of coming unstuck a little bit price wise, like because we want to go like maybe I want to go to South Korea first, and then I want to catch a ferry from Busan to Osaka. So that's okay. It's like $200 Australian. So it's like 100 euros or 105
yeah,
euros for the ferry. So that's all right. But the train seems really expensive. I want to go like Osaka, Hiroshima, Kyoto, and Tokyo. So nearly every time I pick a train to jump on, a bullet train, it's like $150
yeah.
Australian. Nearly every time I look one up. So you're looking at $600 each in train tickets, which is what 320 euros or something like that for four train tickets, which is a little bit. Which is expensive. Like, let's be honest,
It is.
it's not just a little expensive.
But it is one
I
of
think
those.
it's a fair bit expensive, but
They have these fast trains, don't they? The very fast trains.
yeah, they have the bullet train, so
Yeah,
there's no way around it. But look, the accommodation seemed okay. Look, I reckon I was looking at accommodation the other night. For two anyway. For us, we could get accommodation easily around anywhere between some places. $80 to $120 a night. That was even in Tokyo. So the accommodation wise was not bad. It's one of them things because I've never been there before. I don't know how much spending money to sort of allocate. Like as a standard when I go somewhere, I normally go okay. $200 Australian. Generally covers you for the day to buy some food or have a couple of drinks or pay for a couple of local attractions that are not huge attractions like Disneyland or something like that. But, if you're just going into a museum or, you want to go to a temple or, that sort of thing like that price is generally enough. So, to fly there, I was looking to fly into Busan and out of Tokyo was about $900 Australian. So about, what's that, 450, 480 euros. So that probably wasn't too bad, but still for 3 weeks, by the time I chuck everything in, I'm still looking at, maybe $10,000, so 6,000 euros probably for 3 weeks for two of us. So I'm just wait till January and then I'll just decide whether I think I've got enough money.
It's also, even though you're much closer than we are here in Europe, but still, you wouldn't want to go any shorter than, I would say 3 weeks is probably...
No, yeah.
It's probably reasonable. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, you can get cheaper flights. Like, there's a site I look at a lot in Australia. It's called, I Know the Pilot. So they have a lot of these... they have a lot of cheap flights, but they're all specific dated, so you've got to go this day, come back this day. And you can often get a flight to Japan for, $600, $650 Australian return, but it's always in and out of Tokyo. So if you wanted to go to the other places, you'd have to come back to Tokyo anyway. So that would be an extra train ride anyway. So it's not really that cheaper to do it that way, and most of the time they're like dead on 2 weeks or something like that, which I don't think is possibly it's probably enough. So we were going to go say Busan for 3 nights and then like Osaka for maybe 4 nights and Hiroshima for 3 nights and Kyoto for 4 nights and Tokyo for like 6 nights, so just enough to spread it all out. And so we'll see what happens. But I've been doing a fair bit of travel planning, been looking at South America as well. So I'm a little bit keen to go to South America, but maybe in 2027 I might do that. I want to go. Yeah, I think I might want to go to Peru, maybe go to Machu Picchu, I think maybe, and go to Bolivia, go to La Paz, which is one of the highest cities in the world at like 3,200 meters, and they've got this transport system there. They don't have trains; it's all cable car that goes across back and forth across the city on all these different lines and things like that. So I've been doing a little bit of looking around and planning. So maybe if we go for 12 months in 2027, we might go South America for 3 or 4 months or something like that, and do Chile, Bolivia, and Peru. So see what happens.
Wow.
Always planning something.
Yeah, but that's a part of the whole pleasure of traveling. That's the excitement of planning, isn't it? It's
most definitely. Like, I love watching YouTube videos of where people goes and things like that. So that's the best way to learn. Obviously,
it really is,
around,
and there are so many good social media channels. YouTube, Instagram. Speaking of which, I saw you have a new. Do you want to pitch that? There was a new channel, Instagram for Bali. Was
things to do in Sanua? Yeah, that's. I've had that going for a while, but I've sort of neglected it a bit. But I've been trying to get back on top of it because I want to. I've got a really good Facebook page that's got 20,000 members, so I'm trying to figure out a way how to monetize this somehow. And so I need to get the Instagram going because companies like Instagram and things like that. And then I'm going to think about like maybe approaching get a newsletter list. I'm trying to build a list there. I've got about 600 people on the newsletter list. If I could get that up to a few thousand, then I might be able to approach hotels and stuff in Bali about sponsoring the newsletter. Do you want to place advertising on our newsletter? All this sort of stuff like that. So just another sort of idea about how to, monetize and make some money while I'm not really having to do too much. But yeah, it's all sort of a bit of a plan. But the YouTube channel I've got, the new YouTube channel I've made, the one that I was called Street Eats and Window Seats, I've had some pretty good. Actually, I'm up to 1.3K watch hours already after 3 months, and you only need 3,000 for the first stage of monetization. So hopefully that's all heading in the right direction. The only problem is all the ones that are doing well are all Bali ones, and the other ones not so much at this stage. But beggars can't be choosers. If I have to make Bali content, but it gives me a good idea of the sort of content that works. So we sat down the other day and we made a 40-minute video. We just sat there and talked about how much things cost in Bali. Okay, how much the food was, how much hotels are, what you'd expect to pay for this, what you'd expect to pay for that. Just me and Beck talking to the camera, and then I overlaid it obviously with a lot of footage over the top of it as well. But it went for 40 minutes. So if you can get a popular YouTube video that goes for 40 minutes and gets a lot of views, it's easy to get the hours moving really quickly. Like this one video got 600 watch hours because even though the average time to watch it was only maybe 13 minutes was the average watch time, but it's had 4,500 views in a week. So 13 minutes by good. 4,500 divided by 60 minutes is 600 hours or something like that. So in the end, you only really need 5 videos like that that's giving you 600 hours, and you're over the monetization line. But this is
the monetization line. There is quite annoying for people like me watching stuff on. For instance, people, it could be musicians or bands or whatever interest you have, like a biographic video about Paul McCartney. But every time, every damn time, I want to say, they always say, in order to understand this recent development, we need to go all the way back to Paul's childhood and how he was, his upbringing. And then the next 15 minutes goes on, talking about, I know all that. Come on.
Yeah, that's it. Well, please watch to the end of this video to find out.
It's just, who are you kidding?
That's it. So it is what it is. It's just all the process, few things I'm trying out. So, we'll see what happens. See what happens with that as well.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing my finger in a lot of pies at the moment and seeing if anything will actually work again at the moment, since websites are not seemingly working greatly. So,
this podcast is also one of those, things, I think it consistency is key here. We need to just go on and eventually, through other channels, maybe, people will notice, and then here we are. Yeah. So, and then once people discover us, find us, they can dive into the whole back catalogue of.
Yes, that's right. That's what we have.
Of things. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, Mark,
Definitely.
it's been a great pleasure.
No worries, Anders.
We've been talking for well over an hour now again. So let's do this next week.
Yeah. I think we're lucky because my phone's down to 1% power, so it's about to shut off in a minute anyway. So we've timed it perfectly. Say hello to your family for me, and we will chat next week, mate.
Yes, okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.